That's what America is about. A land of dreams and opportunity. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer, even harder.
This man is insane.
They too
Our ancestors from Africa were immigrants.
That one day their sons, daughters,
this man don't know what the hell he's talking about. Lord help him, please.
Might pursue
this is really sick.
And happiness in this land.
What? You know, this video is rather, it's just nerve-wracking. And this is in response to Dr.Ben Carson's goofball press conference that African slaves were brought here were immigrants also. No, Dr. Carson. The first slaves that came to America were kidnapped and brought here by Sir John Hawkins. In about 1562, when he went on his first voyage, he was given a ship by Queen Elizabeth. It was a 700-ton freighter. But you know, this is what's disturbing. You're a doctor. I mean, that's an insult to our ancestors that were brought here against their will. You've got one thing right. They were chained in the bottom of slave ships. Many of them died along the way. Now, the first slaves, African slaves, to reach Jamestown, Virginia, was in 1619. But Sir John Hawkins was the first British slave trader. And he got slaves that he captured off the African coast near Sierra Leone. He plundered Portuguese ships. But you said, but not only that, this is just, well, should be second-grade knowledge. But you're a leader, Dr. Carson, and for you to say such a goofball, ridiculous statement, that's scary, man. I want to read this, what he said to you good folks. And I'm not racist, but this is madness. Let me read this. Carson delivered his first official address as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He rewrote history in the front of a room full of federal workers. That's what America is about, a land of dreams and opportunities. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer and even harder for less, Carson said in remarks broadcast to HUD offices across the country as well as online. But they too had a dream that one day their sons and daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grand-old might pursue prosperity and happiness in this land. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dr. Carson, Mr. Rocket Scientist. You, God forgive me, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And that is an embarrassment and a disgrace to the ancient slaves that were brought here and kidnapped against their will. They worked 15 to 16 hours a day. They lived in shacks, not even huts, with dirt floors. They worked 15 to 16 hours a day in fields. Even the pregnant women had to get out there and work. A lot of whom were raped. The only thing they had, and I had to read this, I have books after books after books. In New York, where I grew up, Dr. Carson, there were libraries all over. There were libraries right down the block. There was the Schoenberg Center in Harlem that we had to go to work with. That is what a disgraceful statement. And getting back to the life of a slave was hard, long, and very dangerous. A lot of time they were beaten within an inch of their life. Why don't you read John the Box Brown? Not the abolitionist John Brown, the slave John Brown, who, God rest his soul, he taped himself in a box and mailed himself to the northeast of somewhere. He worked almost 24 hours and didn't get a meal. He got a watermelon and he ate it. And do you know what happened to him? And this was widespread back in those days. Dr. Carson. The slave master caught him and almost beat him within an inch of his life. And then he told him he broke the plow. And the blacksmith, also a slave, begged him. He didn't mean any harm, sir. He was hungry. He didn't eat anything in almost 24 hours. But that was the life of a slave, Dr. Carson. Long, hard, and unfair. And getting back to it, when John the Box Brown, we call him the box because he mailed himself in a box. That's how we escaped to freedom, Dr. Carson. And when he put his eye down to the plow, the slave master stomped him into it and blood gushed all out. And it's just story after story. A lot of them were raped. Dr. Carson, their sex farms for African slaves were some of the most despicable, despisable on the continent. Dr. Carson. Do you know what happened to babies in Florida? Dr. Carson. While the slave women were out in the fields, the African, they would come home to find their babies gone. Do you know what they did to those babies? Dr. Carson. Right there where Jackie Robinson came from, right there where Trayvon Martin was killed. Why don't you just type it up? I'm not even going to mention it. It's too despicable to report. Dr. Carson. 360 years of slavery from the 1560s. I'm not going to get out. I'm getting a little emotional, and I'm sorry for that. Lord, I repent. And 100 years of Jim Crow, Dr. Carson. They had a very long and very hard and very uncomfortable life. In most cases, they were miserable. All they wanted to be was free, Dr. Carson. Their sons and daughters didn't dream of prosperity, Dr. Carson. They dreamt of being free, with liberty and justice, just to be free, not prosperity, Dr. Carson. They wanted to be free. They didn't want to get raped, beaten, mutilated, Dr. Carson. Thank God all Americans weren't like this. Thank God in the Underground Railroad, Dr. Carson. Look, it was good to see all those good Christians, even people who didn't believe, white, black. Some were saints, some weren't. But they're all fighting for the freedom of everybody. Dr. Carson. Your statements are very scary. And I want to say something to African Americans today. We have a job to do. Our community is in absolute turmoil. 75% of every African American child is born in a single parent household, and he's raised by a woman. There are no father figures. Do you know it has been said that there are only, out of 325 million Americans, and there are a lot more, that there are only 12 million men left? Your money's supposed to circle in your community at least 7 to 8 times before it goes into another community. Money in a black person's community lasts only 3 hours. Let's train our sons and our daughters, our boys and our girls to be entrepreneurs, not just good workers. Let's train them to spend our money in our community that we can build our own infrastructure, where we have our own stores and manufacturing plants where we can hire people and teach their children and our neighbors' children to be entrepreneurs and leaders instead of followers. And stop following these so-called modern-day civil rights leaders. Do you also know, Dr. Carson, that when the land rush was given, people came from all over the world for unearned benefits? Do you know that the day that when they let the Emancipation Proclamation, that black people were not given a single inch of land? Do you know that, Dr. Carson? They were let go mostly barefooted and free, and that's when the Jim Crow. That's enough, Dr. Carson. I'm thanking God that a lot of the media brought this to our attention. It's time to wake up, black folks. All white people are not racist. We gotta stop following these doggone liberals. What a disgrace most of them are. Most politicians are full of crap as a constipated elephant. But when it comes to these Democratic liberals, Lord help us. Pray for our country, folks. We really need it. We're more separated now than ever. Pray for strength and unity. And God put his laws into the leaders of this country. God bless, folks. Dr. Carson, you need help.